Continuing with demand, what we want to take a look at now is what we call the difference in a change in quantity demanded or a change in demand. And in order for us to do that, we want to take a look at our demand schedule. And specifically, and also we want to dovetail on that, our graph. If in fact the demand of the price of a product changes in the market, if people are willing, if the price in the market goes from $5 to $4, our quantity demanded changes in the opposite direction. In other words, our price went down, our quantity demanded went up. If the price in the marketplace went from $5, where we bought 10 units, to $4, where we are now buying 20 units, this is a movement along my existing demand curve. My schedule has not changed. The schedule is still intact, only the price has changed. And we moved from, let's say, point A to point B. And this movement is called a change in quantity demanded. A change in quantity demanded is brought about because of a change in price. A change in price will change the quantity demanded. In other words, it is a movement from point A to point B on my existing curve. My numbers have not changed. However, there could be things, let me go back for a minute. A change in price results in a change in quantity demanded. Ceteris paribus, C-E-T-E-R-I-S, P-A-R-I-B-U-S, ceteris paribus, keeping everything else equal. Everything else meaning that our income doesn't change, our expectations don't change. The price of all the other goods that we want to buy doesn't change. And the only thing that's changing here is the price. So a decrease in price will allow us to buy more goods. It's a change in quantity demanded. However, we know that sometimes that occurs, but we also know that our demand curve will not be stationary. It will not be totally this particular curve here. In other words, certain things unrelated to price, that don't have anything to do with price, will in fact, even though my price is $5, I might now choose to buy 20, or $4, 35, or $3, 55, or $2, 80, $1 might be 90. Now, my schedule has in fact changed. So therefore, if I come over up to 5, I now buy 20 units. At 4, I now buy 35 units. At 2, I now buy, at 3, I now buy 55 units. At 2, I now buy 80, and 1 perhaps 90. And in this situation, I have a new demand curve, and I'm going to call this D prime to distinguish it from my original demand curve. And therefore, at each price, I decided to buy more at each price, even though the price stayed the same, ceteris paribus. This is called a change in demand, where my entire curve shifts. And in this case, my demand curve moved to the right, away from 0. And we say that my demand curve has actually increased. Subsequently, my demand curve could decrease at each price. We'll call this D double prime. It moves closer to 0. Now, what causes my demand curve to decrease or increase are these non-price determinants. They are a change in taste, a change in the number of buyers that we have will increase or decrease our demand curve. A change in our income. And we have two different types of goods when we talk about income. We have inferior goods and we have normal goods. The definition of both very quickly is that a normal good is a good whose demand is directly related to income. In other words, your income goes up and the demand for the good goes up. An inferior good has nothing to do with the perception of quality. It has to do with income. If your income goes up, then the demand for the good will go down. It is a negative or an inverse relationship. Let us assume at this stage of your life, you work part-time, you're making, I don't know, $18,000 a year, $20,000 a year, you have your education to pay for, your lodging, your gas, your car, education bills, whatever. And therefore, your income is quite low, so you like to eat cereal. So you go to the store, you go to ShopRite to pick up a Cheerios. You might buy the large ShopRite bag of Cheerios for $2.99 for the 10-gallon bag or what have you, as opposed to the General Mills Cheerios, if they in fact make General Mills Cheerios. I'm not sure. But in any event, you would buy that because your income is so low, and therefore you have to make every cent count. Well, you graduate from Wilmington University, 5 years down the road, you start to make $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Now, which Cheerio are you going to buy? Are you going to buy the big bag, or are you going to buy the box? And therefore, that is a normal good. In this case, the large bag of Cheerios would be the inferior good, because as your income went up, the demand for that particular good will go down. And the General Mills Cheerios, as your income went up, you would obviously buy more of that. Prices of related goods, complementary goods and substitute goods. Complementary goods are goods that are used together. Peanut butter and jelly. If the price of peanut butter goes up, a change in price results in change in quantity demanded. If the price of peanut butter goes up, I know that my quantity demanded goes down. But because now the price of peanut butter went up, I no longer buy jelly, I no longer have the need for jelly, my demand for jelly would move to the left. And finally, substitutes. The price of beef goes up to, relative to chicken, you would substitute to more chicken. And expectations, you expect, keeping the price of gas at $3.92 today, you expect the price of gas to go up tomorrow. You'll stop for gas today, even though the price is still $3.92. Why? Because you don't want to take the chance of having to pay $3.93 tomorrow. That pretty much is demand. We're going to cover supply in another lecture.